Hey guys, okay, so I got a lot of responses from my last video that I posted yesterday about breakups. And so those responses really made me want to make a second video, a part two to the breakup video. Um, so I really wanted to address some of the comments and questions and concerns and just reactions to what I posted yesterday. So, first of all, thanks to everyone who watched, and thank you to everyone who gave me suggestions and commented and said they loved it and all of that. Like, I really do appreciate that feedback. So, I'm just going to address those comments that I was given. So, the first one was someone who is going through a breakup or is in a relationship that's not successful the way they would like it to be, and they kind of feel stuck and feel like they want to stay in that relationship even though it's not exactly what they want it to be. So that's something I didn't touch on, and a really good point to talk about. So what I have to say to that, and anyone else who feels like they're in that kind of situation too, is that you don't have to settle. And this can go from people who are in relationships that just started, are in long term committed relationships that have been together for months, years, or even people that are married, maybe have families. And I don't have any experience with that specifically, marriage or life beyond dating, but I feel like the advice is applicable across all those situations. So you don't have to settle, and you shouldn't settle, and don't settle. If they were great in the beginning and you loved everything that they did, and you knew that's what made you think you knew that that's what you wanted for the rest of your life, or in a relationship in general, that's great. And if that dwindles or goes away or changes, you don't have to stay, or you don't have to accept that. And if after speaking with them and letting your partner, significant other, know, hey, I loved what you did back then, and give them a frame of reference, like in the first 6 months in our relationship, or the first 2 years, or when we were dating as opposed to when we were married, I really liked XYZ. And give them specifics. Like if you loved that they always opened your car door, or they always offered to pay for things, or they took you on spontaneous outings, or you guys spent quality time together just in the house relaxing together, and those aren't things you do anymore, tell them that. And if they are very responsive to that, and then things start to look up from there, then that's great, and that's like the ideal situation. On the other hand, that's not always how it's going to work. Sometimes they might be responsive to be like, yeah, and maybe it'll change that week that you spoke about it, or the next day, or a couple months even, but then you see that as time goes on after you've had that conversation and they're reverting right back to their old ways, then then that's a less permanent, that's more like a temporary fix to like resolve the issue right then and there, but then they aren't really making the effort to make that a permanent solution. And I think that was a problem in my relationship. So I just want everyone to know that they don't have to be stuck, and it's hard. Like, I'm not here to be that person that's like, oh, you'll get over it and you're better off for it and time heals all wounds and all that great stuff that everyone feeds you, but which you need to hear because it is true, I'm sure. The pain will dwindle with time, but at the same time, it sucks. Like, it does. And it's painful and it hurts to let go of something, whether it be someone that you dated for a couple months or a marriage, both ends of the spectrum. It hurts. And the sad part is, like, you have this idea of what you guys could be, what the relationship could be like, what your expectations of it are, and what you're hoping to get out of it. And these hopes and dreams and expectations will kill you. And that's what's going to make you stay with someone who doesn't really make you happy, because you're sticking this ideal, you're connecting this ideal with this awful relationship. So it's like you're living one life with the mindset that you want, not the life that you want. So, and that person can never live up to that, or they don't want to make the effort to live up to that, or they're not going to do what it takes to live up to that. So don't get stuck and lost with these ideals of what you could have, because the relationship you could have is out there somewhere, and you're wasting your time trying to create it for yourself as someone who doesn't want to meet you where you want them to meet you. So I think that was something that was really important that I wanted to address, because that's something I went through. So to anyone out there who's going through something like that, that they feel like they can change somebody, or that person has promised them and promised them and promised them time after time that they're going to do better, and they're like waiting it out. Don't wait it out. If anything, if the relationship ends and that isn't enough wake-up call for the other person to do what they need to do, then that's how you know. But you can't ever know that if you just keep aiding them in not doing what you want them to do. So I would say my advice for that would be like, take a break. Let that person know your expectations. If they live up to them after that, great. If they don't, then say, hey, I talked to you about this months ago, nothing's changed, or it changed for like a couple weeks and then it went back to where I didn't want it to be. Take a break. And if that's a wake-up call for that person, then good. But if it's not, then you made the right decision and you guys just need to stay split. Sometimes it's a timing issue. Sometimes people are meant to be, but the timing's off. Everything, when it's meant to be, will fall into place. You don't have to force it. You don't have to beg for it. It'll just be. So that's what I wanted to say about that. And then I also had comments about divorce. So people who, how does this work? How do breakups and things work for people who are going through divorce? I personally don't have an experience with that topic, so I don't want to talk too much about something that I haven't experienced myself. But I would say, like I said in the beginning, the same things apply. And if things like kids are involved, then that gets a little messier. But the same concepts of the relationship ending itself apply. You are still worthy. Like, you invested a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of love, a lot of yourself into this relationship, into a marriage. And that's something that I'm sure you assumed would last a lifetime, because that is what marriage is supposed to be. But when that ends, or it starts to not work out, and you decide that it's not going to work for you anymore, the same things apply. Better is out there. You don't have to settle just because you're in a marriage as opposed to a relationship that you could just walk away from. It is obviously a harder process, and if, like I said, children are involved, then there are certain avenues and things that need to be done to ensure that things with the family dynamic don't just fall apart, but follow the same guidelines of how to emotionally and cognitively get through it. So those are two things that I really just wanted to touch on in this part 2 video. But I'm sure this is a topic I will probably talk about again at another time as I go through the process myself and feel like I have more insight to offer as time goes on. But thank you for those who watched, and thank you for those who commented and gave me suggestions and influenced this part 2 video. And like I said, what I'm going to do is post another video this weekend, because I have a special interest topic to talk about before the month is over. So make sure you tune in this weekend for my first attempt at sign language lesson 1. So that'll be this weekend, and then I will post a special interest video next week. So look out for that on Wednesday. So thank you guys for watching, and hopefully you guys tune in this weekend. Thanks.